Miguel Adorati back here at the iBob Vault, so we're going to get into another talk and shoot video blog here. This time it's MMA. We got the UFC 198 coming to us from Curitiba, Brazil this Saturday, May 14th. Big show. I'm excited about the show. A lot of good fights on here. Let me run you through the main card odds here. First of all, in a catchweight fight in the ladies, in a 3-rounder, I believe it's at 140 pounds, you've got Leslie Smith. None to lose, Leslie Smith. She's at plus 1,100 as an underdog as she faces Cyborg. Cristiana Justino finally making her UFC debut. She's coming in as a minus 1,700 favorite. It's a 3-rounder. The over-under is 1.5 with the over paying plus 205 and the under minus 245. We'll see what Justino, if the weight cut actually affects her. We'll see if maybe, they've let some time go by. She was hot 5 years ago when she beat Carano. She may be slipping a little bit, and you may not get the best Justino that was out there. That would be unfortunate. The UFC really dropped the ball waiting this long to bring her on. But you finally get her, the debut of Cyborg. I think that's big news. Moving into the middleweight fight, here's a crossroads fight. You got Anderson Silva, the ancient champion, against Uriah Hall, who, draws comparisons with his exotic strikes and stuff like that. And Hall, he's been hot and cold at times in his career here, but Hall's definitely going to be here in a few years, whereas Silva's going to be in his mid-40s. So we'll see. Silva's a minus 130 favorite, Hall plus 110. Silva fighting at home in Brazil. The over-under, 2.5 with a minus 135 on the over and a plus 115 on the under. More middleweight action. Now, this is a brutal fight. Vitor Belfort, Jacare Souza. Souza, big favorite, minus 320. I agree with that. Belfort paying back at plus 260. I think Souza comes in and is very efficient on the ground. Belfort's a black belt too, but I don't think that he's a black belt with the experience and depth of Souza. And I think Souza isn't going to want to mess with Vitor on the feet, so we'll see. Over under on that one's 1.5 with the over plus 135 and the under minus 155. And finally got the heavyweight main event. Fabrizio Werdum fighting as the UFC heavyweight champion in Brazil. Got to be a dream come true for the big guy. He's a minus 150 favorite facing Stipe Miocic. Miocic plus 130. It's a 5-rounder. Over-unders at 2.5 with both the over and the under paying minus 110. So that could go either way. We'll see. It's going to be a good UFC. UFC 198. Fights in Brazil. A lot of Brazilians, obviously. But there's some interesting fights here. Uriah Hall gets a chance to put away a legend. You got the debut of Cristiano Justino, the famous Cyborg. Belfort and Souza's a war, and the heavyweight title's on the line. Those are the odds. The UFC 198. I'm Miguel Adorati. We've been talking shoot, and we'll talk to you after these fights.